So this guy who designs boats for a living watches his own sailboat sink straight to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, and now he's completely alone 800 miles from land, floating in a rubber raft the size of a bathtub. It's insane. And it all starts with this guy, Stephen. He's 29, from New England. He's a naval architect, basically someone who designs and builds boats for a living. Stephen doesn't just work with boats, he lives for them. He spent years studying how they move, how they hold up, how they survive rough water. So in late 1981, he decides to sail solo across the Atlantic Ocean. He builds his own 21-foot sailboat, names it Napoleon Solo, and takes off from the Canary Islands, a group of islands off the coast of Africa, heading for the Caribbean. For Stephen, this isn't crazy. This is just what he does. January 29th, 1982, the middle of the North Atlantic. It's the dead of night. A storm comes out of nowhere. The waves get massive, fast, the kind that throw a small boat around like it weighs nothing. And then something slams into the hull, hard. Stephen's below deck when it happens. He hears this awful cracking sound, and he knows immediately what that means. Water starts pouring in. Not dripping, pouring. He scrambles up and grabs whatever he can reach. A sleeping bag, his spear gun, a survival kit, some flares. He yanks the cord on his life raft, throws it over the side, and climbs in. And then he watches Napoleon Solo go under. The boat he built with his own hands just slides beneath the surface like it was never there. He's sitting in 5 feet of rubber in the pitch dark in the middle of the North Atlantic with a storm still raging around him. He pulls his knees to his chest and sits there, soaking wet, listening to the water. He checks what he managed to grab. 6 small cans of food, 3 pounds of emergency rations, a tiny amount of fresh water, a spear gun with 3 spears, 8 flares, a repair kit, and a solar still, which is basically a small floating device that uses sunlight to slowly turn salt water into drinking water. It sounds high-tech, but in reality, on a good day, the thing produces about a pint of fresh water. For one person floating in the ocean, that is barely enough to stay alive. He does the math. Even if he stretches every last bite, he's got maybe 3 weeks of food. The nearest land is 800 miles away. He doesn't sleep. He just sits there in the dark, jaw tight, eyes open, listening to the waves hit the sides of the raft. The first few days, he focuses on the solar still. He sets it up every morning and waits. It works, but barely. A pint a day is not enough, so he starts rationing everything down to almost nothing. A few small bites, a few small sips, just enough to keep his body running. Then on day 3, something bumps the side of the raft. A dorado. It's a large ocean fish, usually around 3 to 4 feet long, with a bright gold and blue body. They're fast, they're strong, and they tend to swim close to anything floating on the surface. Stephen grabs the spear gun, leans out over the edge, and fires. The spear hits. He hauls the fish in and just stares at it, hands shaking, chest heaving, probably thinking, "Holy hell, I can actually do this." Because that fish isn't just food. That's proof he can survive out here. He eats it raw right there. He even drinks the fluid from inside the fish to stretch his water supply. And the next morning, he's back at the edge of the raft, looking for another one. He learns fast. Dorados love to hover in the shade underneath the raft. He figures out their patterns and when they come around. He rigs a simple hand line for smaller fish when the spear gun is too much. He starts catching triggerfish too, smaller flatfish that circle near the surface. He gets better at this every single day. And slowly, the tight knot in his chest starts to ease up a little. He's got food coming in. He's making water. He's got a routine. He tells himself,
"This is manageable."
And then, the sharks find him. It starts with 1, then 2, then a whole group of them, circling slow and quiet underneath the raft. They bump the sides, just testing, and then one bites into the rubber. Not a huge bite, but enough. Air starts hissing out of the side tube. Stephen grabs the repair kit. He's flat on his stomach, pressing a patch down over the hole with both hands, while the shark is still right there beneath him, bumping the bottom of the raft. He can feel it through the rubber.
Come on, hold, hold.
The patch holds, but the sharks don't leave. They stick around for days, weeks. Every time Stephen leans over the side to fish or collect rainwater, they're right there below him, watching. So now, on top of everything else, he's fishing with sharks circling underneath him every single day. He starts talking to them. He's like,
"Not today. Back off."
He means it every time. Around week 3, a cargo ship appears on the horizon. Stephen grabs a flare, hands shaking, and fires it off. Bright orange light punches up into the sky. He's waving his arms and screaming. The ship keeps going. He watches it disappear, then he sits back down. He stares at the empty spot on the horizon where it was. Right there, he decides, no more wasting flares unless a ship is close enough to actually see him. He's got 7 left. 7 chances. Over the next few weeks, 5 more ships pass within range. He signals 2 of them. Neither one stops. He watches each one go, and each time his face gets a little harder and his eyes get a little more hollow. By week 5, his body is starting to fall apart. He can see his own ribs clearly when he looks down. His legs are swollen because he barely moves in the small raft, and salt sores have opened up all over his back and hips from the wet rubber constantly rubbing against his skin and never letting it dry. They get infected. They burn every time salt water touches them. He cleans them as best he can and keeps going. He forces himself to exercise every day. Leg lifts, moving his arms, anything to keep the blood flowing. It hurts like hell. He does it anyway. Every morning, no exceptions. And every single day he writes in his log what he caught, how much water the still made, the condition of the raft, his best guess at where he is. He marks off each day and sets a goal. Get to day 40, then 50, then 60. One number at a time. Day 40 comes. He's still there. Then somewhere around day 50 the raft gets punctured again, and this time it's bad. A spine from one of the fish punches straight through the bottom tube. Air rushes out fast and the raft starts collapsing underneath him. He grabs the repair kit and works with one hand while pumping air back in with the other, the whole thing sinking as he goes. Sharks are circling below. He gets a patch down. It slows the leak. He keeps pumping again and again until his arms are completely done. Burning. Useless. The patch holds, but the tube never fully seals again. From that point on, he has to pump air back into the raft several times a day just to keep it from going flat. It becomes part of the routine. Fish, pump, patch, drink, sleep, repeat. By day 60, he's lost close to 40 pounds. His mind starts doing strange things, brief flashes of places and faces that aren't there. He shakes them off each time, opens his log, and writes.
He's like, "You stop counting, you're done. Keep counting."
Day 60, day 65, day 70. And then he sees birds. Frigate birds! A whole group of them circling high above him in wide, slow loops. Now, here's the thing about frigate birds. They never land on water. They only fly near coastlines. Stephen sits up straight and scans the water around the raft. He sees vegetation floating past. A plastic bottle. Small pieces of debris. Land is close. He can feel it. April 21st, 1982, day 76. A fishing boat appears on the horizon. Stephen grabs his last 2 flares. His hands are cracked and stiff, barely bending right. He fires the first one. Orange light bursts into the sky. The boat doesn't turn. He takes a breath. Fires the second. The boat turns. It comes toward him. As it pulls up alongside the raft, the fishermen lean over the rail and look down at him. And they go completely quiet. They're looking at a skeleton of a man. Skin burned raw and cracking. Barely 100 pounds. Eyes sunken deep into his face. They pull him aboard. The second he tries to stand, his legs give out completely. 2 of the fishermen catch him. He grabs the wooden rail of the boat and holds on, eyes closed. Just holds on. 76 days, 1,800 miles of open ocean. Stephen is brought ashore in Guadeloupe on April 21st, 1982. Here's what he actually looked like when they found him. And that's where it ends. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more like it, then hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I upload crime stories too, so you'll get notified when I upload a new video. Thanks, and see you in the next one.